5G, let's get into it. 5G. What is it? And how does it pertain to you? And why it doesn't help me at all. So, pulled up some information on 5G. It's a fifth generation of LTE cellular networks. Or not LTE, because long term evolution doesn't exist anymore, which that doesn't make any sense at all. I don't know why it doesn't, but well, that's kind of a stupid thing. Marketing. So it's the fifth generation. That doesn't mean it's 5 gigabits. It doesn't mean it's 5 gigahertz. It's a fifth generation system. It would be like upgrading your computer to a completely new system. And there are generations of CPU, motherboard, RAM together. So for most of my friends, it's going to benefit you guys who live in New York City, El Paso, Texas, Dallas, Texas, Seattle, Washington. Big places where you're really going to feel the effects of the higher speeds. But if you live in the middle of nowhere, what we call rural America, there's no benefit. Zero. And I'm going to explain why. So, what is 5G? It says it right here. It's the fifth generation. It's supposed to be multi-gigabits per second data speed. They're all talking about speed. But what is one of the basic things? And something I really want to scroll down and show you. Forget that. Forget that. There. Massive Internet of Things. So IoT. Back in like 2005, IoT had just come out. The phrase IoT. Intel was really pushing forward. And basically the idea was that we're going to take a tiny little microchip and we're going to shove this in every single device. We're going to shove it into coffee makers. We're going to shove them into everything. It's going to be in your shoes. It's going to be in everything. And everything's going to connect to the internet. That didn't really happen the way they thought or the way we thought. Like, I guess I assumed it would be over Wi-Fi, since Wi-Fi was the thing. And back then, we hadn't even hit 2G. Edge hadn't even come out. So, cell phones were still not as they are now. But now, IoT means everything. It means that every device in your home can be connected to the internet of some sort. And not just, not just over your Wi-Fi network. Now we can be connected over an entire cellular network. Basically, you can just take that device, plug it in anywhere, and it'll connect. It'll do everything you need it to do. That's the concept of Internet of Things. So this is the road, what they call, to that progression. Because 5G isn't really where it's at. And let me try to explain that. Let's go over here. All right, Verizon. I use Verizon. I know a bunch of people use Verizon. Verizon's 4G bands, okay? 2, 4, 5, 13, 66. You don't care about that. What you want to know is these megahertz bands, okay? 1900, 1700, 700. These other ones down here, 2600, 800, 850, 2500. Those are what we call bands, megahertz bands. These bands allow communication traffic together or individually. So Verizon doesn't really, I know it owns a few of those, and I know a few of those it shares. I know the 700 megahertz band it leased out to T-Mobile. That I do know. So that's very important to remember, to know about. These bands provide your 4G LTE. And in simple terms, that's all it does. But 5G uses what we call millimeter bands, wave bands. So these are 28 and 39 gigahertz. So while this is 1.9 gigahertz, 1.7, 2.6 gigahertz. That's 28 and 39 gigahertz. And as far as from what I remember doing a little bit of research on this, those bands, when you start getting up there and above the 50 gigahertz bands, you're now interfering with GPS and you're interfering with satellite systems. You're moving into satellite or KU bands. So we're going to move up into a higher space. Now, I'm not going to get into the discussion of how that affects people or radiation. I'm not that kind of person. I can tell you right off the bat that these waves are different. It's not gamma radiation, and the sun does produce a shit ton of radiation that it passes on to us. But this is not the same. This is not the same at all. Can it hurt you? I don't know. I'm not the researcher on this. The only thing I could really pull up was a military article that said it would interfere with military GPS and how the military was asking to put a pause on this. Which the military is going to have to change GPS systems anyways because it's been outdated and we need a better system. But why do I care? Why is it that I, as a rural American citizen, why don't I care about 28 and 39 gigahertz millimeter wave bands? So, fun fact is that as you increase your gigahertz bands, as you increase the bandwidth, not really the bandwidth, but as you increase these bands, this frequency, you can push a lot of data, but the distance that data goes, it's short. It's very short. There's a Linus Tech Tips video that's posted about it. And basically, if you're not within line of sight and you can't see the tower, you're not going to hit those gigabit speeds. You're not. It's just not going to happen. And that's why getting on 5G for me isn't important. The speed consistency where I'm at, it doesn't matter. If you're in a big city, it will matter until everybody jumps on it. I know with 5G they're planning on more people being on there, more videos being streamed, but there's only so much you can do. So, for anybody living in rural America, don't worry about 5G. It's not going to affect you. You're not going to get the speeds, and it's not going to replace your local landline. In fact, nothing is going to replace your local landline. As much as they keep talking about it and trying to say, yes, this is it. This is what's going to cut your cord and you're going to be able to jump on. No. This article, Broadband Communities, it basically explains everything. It's not going to do it. And that fiber is still the best way. We just don't. Wireless signal is great for short range. It's not great for long range. Another great example of that would be your Wi-Fi router. I have a Wi-Fi router back here. So your Wi-Fi router produces two bands, 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. 2.4 gigahertz is great for getting across the other side of your house, getting everywhere, but it doesn't provide you a lot of speed compared to 5 gigahertz. But that 5 gigahertz band, it can't go through the walls as efficiently. It's in fact, even with its wide space, even if you had wide space, the distance is not going to be there. You're going to lack a lot of distance and speed as you walk away from it. That's a big downside to going up in those megahertz, those gigahertz frequency bands. So that's pretty much what I wanted to talk to you guys. And as a side note, coronavirus is not, it's not 5G didn't create this. Don't put out that stupid shit. If you guys have any other questions about 5G and how well it'll work for you, and if it'll be good for you or not, go ahead and message me. I'd really like to. I can pretty sure I can answer all your questions. Thanks.